Okay, good afternoon, all of you. Let's get started. So this is what we left yesterday. And if you take a triangle, three-node triangle like this, a triangular element having three nodes, 1, 2, 3, and L1, L2, L3 values at some key points are given here. Yesterday I told you to verify these this information that is given here based on this one. L1 can be calculated using this, L2 can be calculated using this, and L3 can be calculated using this. So based on this, you should be able to verify whether these are correct or not. Okay. Anyway, now coming back to this procedure that we were discussing, the idea of this area coordinates or later volume coordinates is to make use of these concepts for deriving the shape functions for higher order triangular elements. So what are the various steps? Find L1, L2, L3 for each node. Normalize all coordinates by multiplying with a constant to convert them into whole numbers if necessary. So the second step is optional. You will understand better once you see an example. And once you calculate L1, L2, L3 for each node, label each node of triangle as L1, L2, L3 using the normalized coordinates. So once you label each of the nodes using this L1, L2, L3, then these are the examples. We'll see this. Then you can make use of this formula. So what I suggest is you make a note of this formula in your notebook. So once you get L1, L2, L3 for each of the nodes, the shape function corresponding to that node can be obtained using this relation, where I takes values of L1, J takes values of L2, K takes values of L3. And this is AI as a function of L1, AJ as function of L2, AK as function of L3. And what is this AI L1, 2, 3? Okay, AILJ, how it is defined, that is given here. And please note that this is pi is a product. So instead of looping, if you have a sigma symbol, you are going to loop over the entire the range over which that particular variable takes and then sum it up. Here pi means product. So P takes values 1 to I depending on the value of I. So you are going to get so many terms and you need to multiply each of those terms. That is what it means. So please take a note of it. So AILJ depends on I, whether it's greater than 0 or equal to 0. And one important parameter is there here, N. N depends on the order of the trial solution. Once we see an example, you will understand better. Order of a trial solution. You need to go back to your basics. If you have a three-node triangular element, what is the starting polynomial trial solution that you start with? A0 plus A1x plus A2y. So there are three coefficients, unknown coefficients. Okay, and also that trial solution, polynomial trial solution, trial whatever you start with, polynomial trial, that it's going to be linear. A0 plus A1x plus A2y. It's linear. So if it is linear, then n is equal to 1. And if you have 6 nodes, then you need to start with a polynomial trial solution having 6 coefficients. A0 plus A1x plus A2y plus A3x square A4xy plus A5y square. So the highest order polynomial that you can accommodate is second order. So n takes values is equal to 2 for 6 node triangular element, quadratic functions. And n takes value equal to 3 for n takes value equal to 3 for cubic functions or 10 node triangle. So how this n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2, n is equal to 3 is taken, it depends on the order of the trial solution. So that to get an idea about it, this table is given here. Okay, if you have 3 node triangular element, you need to start with A0. You can see here, this is Pascal's triangle, A0 plus A1x plus A2y. So n is equal to 1. And if you have 6 node triangular element, you need to start with a polynomial having A0 plus A1x plus A2y plus A3x square plus A4xy plus A5y square. So n is equal to 2. Similarly, 10 nodes. If you want to have 10 nodes, you need to start with the polynomial having 10 coefficients. So these are the coefficients that you can use. Already 6 coefficients are there up to y square. And if you want to add more coefficients, then a6x cube, a7 x square y, a8 xy square, a9 y cube. So n is equal to 3 because we are including all the cubic up to cubic terms. And if you want to higher order triangular element, you can go for the next higher order to include all the terms, next higher order terms, 4th order terms. So you need to have 15 nodes for the triangle and n is equal to 4 in that case. So you need to make a note of this entire thing, okay? Whatever is given in this particular slide, you need to actually make a note of this entire thing because finally your shape function expressions are going to depend on this. So please take a note of this quickly. I'm going to wait for a minute here because I cannot back and forth come to this slide. So when we see an example, you will easily understand the shape function, how these shape function expressions are derived. So please take a note of this Nijk, this one, and how AI Lj is defined. I takes values 1 to here. AI takes values depending on L1, L2, L3. Okay, and J takes values 1, 2, 3. So please take a note of this. And this n depends on the order of the trial solution, whatever I just explained based on this Pascal's triangle are the terms that are given in this table. And rest of the things are given here. The symbol pi indicates product of terms in the series. Note the number of nodes in a triangle is equal to number of terms in complete 2-dimensional polynomial of the appropriate order. So please take a note of this. So once you have this information, once you know how to label the nodes using L1, L2, L3 concept, and then if required, you convert into a whole number and use this labeling of L1, L2, L3, and then make use of this formula, and you can write these shape function expressions. So please take a note of this. So now, since we learned the procedure, let's apply this procedure for starting with the 3 node element, 6 node element like that. So whatever expressions we get for 3 node element using this formula should match with whatever we already derived. Because even though we are adopting different procedures for getting the shape function expressions, finally the shape functions resulting from each of these methods should be similar or almost same. Otherwise, it's going to violate all the shape function properties. Okay, so please take a note of it. I hope you have taken note. Okay, and then I'm going to this 3-node triangular element. Okay, you label the nodes 1, 2, 3. You label the nodes 1, 2, 3 nodes using L1, L2, L3 concept. Last class I asked you what is L1, L2, L3 for node 1? What is L1, L2, L3 for node 2? What is L1, L2, L3 for node 3? Okay? And you agreed with me in the last class, L1, L2, L3 for node 1 are 1, 0, 0. And here they are going to be 0, 1, 0. Here they are going to be 0, 0, 1. So here the labeling is 1, 0, 0. Here labeling is 0, 1, 0. Here labeling is 0, 0, 1. Any questions here? So that is what is shown here. A three-node triangle with actual and 3 subscript numbering is shown here. 3 subscript numbering is nothing but L1, L2, L3 written in this fashion. Okay, so this is the 3 numbering subscript. Any questions here? Once you get this 3 numbering subscript, so then now if you want to derive the shape function expressions for this node, so this node shape function expression is going to be n1, 0, 0. So n1, 0, 0. I is equal to 1, j is equal to 0, k is equal to 0. Substitute that I is equal to 1 here. It becomes a1 as a function of L1. Here j is equal to 0, a0. And here k is 0, so k is 0. So what it is saying? What it is saying? If you see here how it is written, ai lj. If I is equal to 0, whatever quantity here, a0, irrespective of you have L1, L2, L3, if it is a0 inside this bracket, whether you have L1, L2, L3, that is equal to 1. So with the notation 1, 0, 0, n1, 0, 0, this becomes a1, L1, this becomes a0, L2. So a0, L2 is going to be 1. a0, L3, that is also going to be 1. So you need to find what is a1, L1. So I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1. I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1. So please write it, okay? Please quickly write it. A1, L1. So now substitute that information here. I is equal to 1. So this product is going to be P starting with 1 and I is equal to 1. So one term is going to be there. And j is equal to 1, L1. J is 1, L1. And what is n? 3-node triangular element. N is equal to 1. So 1 times L1, and it is here P takes values 1 to I is 1. So one term is going to be there. P is 1 minus 1 plus 1. It's going to be 0 divided by 1. So what you get? A1, L1 is going to be L1. Substitute that here. So N100 is going to be L1. N100 is going to be L1. What is N100? It is nothing but N1. N1 is equal to L1. That is what you get. I I hope whatever explanation that I gave you is clear. And if you want to try, you can try the second node for this 3-node triangular element. Second node labeling of L1, L2, L3 is 0, 1, 0. So substitute that here, 0, 1, 0. So I takes value 0. So this is going to be A0, L1, A0, L3. So these two terms are going to be 1. And finally, A here, J takes value equal to 1. So it's going to be A1, L2. A1, L2. So substitute here, I is equal to 1, I is equal to 1, L is equal to 2. J is equal to 2 here. I is equal to 1, J is equal to 2. It's going to be A1, L2. And similar to what you have done for the first term, you can notice that if you substitute here, P goes from 1 to I, which is 1. And this is a 3-node triangular element. So N is equal to 1. J takes value 2. P is equal to -1. So -1 gets cancelled. And here in the denominator, you have 1. So this term is going to become L2. So N0, 0, N0, 1, 0. N0, 1, 0 is same as L2. N0, 1, 0 is nothing but N2. N2 is same as L2. And similarly, you can verify for the third node. So that is what we noted yesterday also. Shape functions for this 3-node triangular element N1, N2, N3 are same as L1, L2, L3. So that is what we noted. And since we developed here some procedure, we can use this procedure to verify whether I apply, if I apply to this 3-node triangular element, whether I get the same thing or not. So we got it now. So that procedure is correct. This is one way of verifying this procedure. And please note that by doing this exercise, we have not done anything extra, in the sense whatever 3-node triangular element we studied earlier, we just got the same shape functions by using this method. But the real advantage of this method is if we go and try to apply this for higher order triangular elements to determine the shape function expressions. So that's why let's take this 6-node triangular element. So please take a note of the 6-node triangular element. The 6 nodes, you see how they are here. The corner nodes are numbered first. 1, 2, 3 are apex nodes. Apex nodes are numbered first. 1, 2, 3. And this is side 1, 2 is the first side. So 4, 5, 6. These 4, 5, 6 nodes are at the midpoint of that particular edge. 4, 5, 6 location is at the midpoint of that particular edge. Okay. And now for each of these nodes, you write L1, L2, L3. You write L1, L2, L3. How do you get L1, L2, L3 for each of these nodes? Just now I mentioned these 4, 5, 6 are midpoints of these sides. So what if x1, y1 is the coordinate of node 1, x2, y2 is coordinate of node 2, x3, y3 is coordinate of node 3. What is the coordinate of node 4? What is going to be coordinate of node 4? It's going to be x1 plus x2 divided by 2, x coordinate. y1 plus y2 divided by 2 is the y coordinate of node 4. So please take a note of it. The coordinate of node 4 is going to be x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Similarly, what is going to be the coordinates of node 5? It's going to be x2 plus x3 divided by 2, y2 plus y3 divided by 2. And this one, x3 plus x1 divided by 2, y3 plus y1 divided by 2. Please make a note of that. Okay. So now, how do we get this number here? How do we get this one? How do we get this one? This is after normalization. In the here, if you see the procedure, normalization is there. Normalize all coordinates by multiplying with a constant to convert them into whole number, if required. That is done here. After normalization, this is what you get. But before normalization, what is L1, L2, L3 for node 1 for the 6-node triangular element? L1, L2, L3 is going to be for this node 1, it's going to be 1, 0, 0. And for node 2, it's going to be 0, 1, 0. For node 3, it's going to be 0, 0, 1. As it is for 3-node triangular element. Only new thing you need to determine is for these 4 nodes, for these 3 nodes, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6 nodes, you need to determine the labeling L1, L2, L3. For that only, I specifically mentioned what are the coordinates of this node 4. Coordinates of node 4 are x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma y1 plus y2 divided by 2. You please make a note of that in your notebook. So now I want to write the labeling L1, L2, L3 for this node 4. Before I write labeling for this node 4, L1, L2, L3, I need to calculate what is L1, L2, L3 for this node 4. What is L1, L2, L3 for this node 4? So I'm explaining you in detail on that. Okay, so please pay attention here. How do you get L1, L2, L3 for this node 4? I already have the formulas for L1, L2, L3 here. In these formulas, I need to substitute wherever xy is there. I need to substitute the coordinates of node 4. What are the coordinates of node 4? x1 plus x2. x1 plus x2 divided by 2. y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Substitute here x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2 in this L1, L2, L3. Substitute. And you need to go back to your properties of determinants or identities, various identities of determinants. Okay. So here, what is going to happen is x is going to be x you replace with y1 plus x you replace with x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y you replace with y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Okay. And if you do that, what is going to happen to this node 4? L1 happens to be you just substitute and then go and see the identities of determinants. If two columns, or if a particular column is like a linear combination of other two columns, what is the determinant of that is going to be? You need to go back to your 12th class mathematics or first year engineering mathematics and try to verify that. I'm going to leave it to you, that one. So when you substitute x is equal to x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y is equal to y1 plus y2 divided by 2, what's going to happen here is L1 turns out to be half, L2 turns out to be half, L3 turns out to be 0. Is it clear? You verify L1 is going to be half, L2 is going to be half, L3 is going to be 0. How do I get this half? You need to go back and apply the identities related to the determinant in matrices. If you have a column as a linear combination of other column, and how the determinant is going to be. Okay, so please go back to your mathematics and verify. So when you substitute the coordinates of node 4 in these three equations, x you replace with x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y you replace with y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Do the same exercise wherever x, y are appearing in these three equations. You can verify L1 is going to be half, L2 is going to be half, L3 is going to be 0. So what is L1, L2, L3? Labeling for node 4, half, half, 0. So labeling for node 3 is going to be here. Labeling for node 4, labeling for node 4 is going to be half, half, 0. Labeling for node 5 is going to be 0, half, half. You verify that. How do you verify whether you are going to get 0, half, half for node 5? You substitute the coordinates of node 5, which is nothing but x2 plus x3 divided by 2, y2 plus y3 divided by 2 in the equations for L1, L2, L3, replacing wherever x, y are there with the coordinates of this node 5. So L1, L2 labeling, L1, L2, L3 labeling for node 5 is going to be 0, half, half. You please take a note of it. And L1, L2, L3 numbering, L1, L2, L3 numbering for node 6 is going to be half, 0, half. Okay, half, 0, half. So in essence, let me once again repeat L1, L2, L3 labeling. L1, L2, L3 labeling for node 1, node 2, node 3, 4, 5, 6. So L1, L2, L3 labeling for node 1 is 1, 0, 0. For node 4, it's going to be half, half, 0. Node 2 is going to be 0, 1, 0. Node 5 is going to be half, 0, half, half. Node 3, L1, L2, L3 labeling is going to be 0, 0, 1. And here it's going to be node 6, it's going to be half, 0, half. Okay? Is it clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you got this labeling. Please see, I have this half. I don't want this half. That's the reason. That is the second step. So it's not necessary for all elements you will get that kind of thing. Whenever you see this kind of fraction thing, you convert into whole number. So if I want to convert into whole number, half, if I multiply with the 2, I'm going to get a whole number. So that is what we are going to do. So here 1, 0, 0 is there. Here I have half, half, 0. I want to convert this into whole number. So instead of half of 0, I'm going to write it as 110. 110 means L1, L2, L3. If I multiply with 2, it's going to be 110. And then same multiplication I need to do here. Already it is 100. If I multiply with 2, it's going to be 200. So that is how this is obtained. So you do that kind of thing for all the nodes. First you get the original L1, L2, L3 labeling and observe the L1, L2, L3 labeling. And if required, you multiply with some number to make it a whole number. Is it clear? So that is what is done. That is how the second one is obtained. L1, L2, L3 labeling for the second figure. So once you get this one, once you get this labeling as it is shown for the second figure, your next step is to apply the formula Nijk. So for node 1, this is the L1, L2, L3 labeling. So shape function expression for node 1 is same as N200. And for this node 4, it's going to be N110. Okay? Like that. You need to apply this formula. So for node 1, it's going to be N200. So I takes value 2 here, L1, A2, L1, and it's going to be A0, L2, A0, L3. So these two are going to be 1, and finally you are going to be left with A2, L1. And then you can make use of this. So I takes values 1, 2, P takes values, or this product has to be over 2 terms. P takes values 1, and here it is 2, so I takes value equal to 2. So P is going to be 1 and another term 2. So you need to multiply those 2 terms. And in between we have this N. What is N for 6 node element? That is coming from this table. For 6 node element, N is equal to 2. So once you got L1, L2, L3 labeling, after multiplying with a whole number if required, that if required is emphasized, okay? That you need to do only if required. Once you get this L1, L2, L3 labeling, apply this formula. While applying this formula, you identify appropriate value of N. For 6 node triangular element, N is equal to 2. So now you got for 6 node triangular element L1, L2, L3. After doing that normalization, now you can apply this formula and see the expressions, how they look like. So that details I will show you in just after this. Okay. So those details are here. So L1, L2, L3 after getting for node 1, node 2, node 3, node 4, node 5, node 6, this formula is applied. And then these are the expressions for N1, N2, N3, N4, N5, N6. And please note that these expressions here, they are in terms of L1, L2, L3. What is L1, L2, L3? L1, L2, L3, you have, what is L1, L2, L3? You have in terms of X, Y here. So you need to simplify this and then substitute that L1, L2, L3 here in these expressions. Then you are going to get the shape functions for 6 node triangular. Then you are going to get expressions for 6 node triangular element. Is it clear? Here you read what is written here. With appropriate change of variables, all the integrations, differentiations necessary for developing finite element equations can be carried out in the natural coordinates. If necessary, the shape functions can also be expressed in terms of x, y. So now you substitute, if you do anyway, the shape, when you say shape function expression, either it should be in xy coordinate system for two-dimensional case or SNT for parent element. So I don't want in terms of L1, L2, L3. So I will write it in terms of xy. If I want to write it in terms of xy, you substitute this one here. This L1, L2, L3. So if you do that, for a particular case, here for a particular case of triangular element with the numerical values given, the details are worked out. You can go through it and then easily see. For this triangular element with these coordinates, first all these areas are calculated, A1, A2, A3. Or 2A1, 2A2, 2A3, they are calculated. And then once you have that, L1, L2, L3 are calculated. Once you have L1, L2, L3, you know the expressions for N1, N2, N3, N4, N5, N6 in terms of L1, L2, L3. So you can easily substitute that and get the expressions for N1 to N6. Okay? And if you want, please note that irrespective of whatever triangular element we have, we are going to map onto a parent triangular element. Okay? And so we need to derive the shape function expressions for that parent triangular element. If the actual element is a 6-node triangular element, this 6-node triangular element, we are going to map it onto a parent triangular element which is also having 6 nodes, except that in parent triangular element, node 1 coordinates are going to be at 0, 0. Node 2 coordinate is going to be at 1, 0. You please make a note of it. And node 3 coordinate is going to be at 0, 1. And node 4, node 5, node 6 are going to be the midpoints of each of these sites. Okay? So for usually in parent coordinate system, we are going to use, instead of XY, we are going to use S and T. So then in that case, you need to write all these in terms of S and T. And then repeat all this, and you are going to get shape function expressions in S and T. Okay? So now this procedure using area coordinates, this procedure of deriving the shape function expressions using area coordinates for two-dimensional problems for triangular elements is very versatile method, and you don't need to go through that kind of starting with a polynomial and trying to find the coefficients, because it's going to be cumbersome as the order of the element is becoming higher and higher. The starting polynomial is going to be lengthier, and then finally that inversion and other things, finding these coefficients and substituting and all that procedure is going to be getting complicated. Instead of that, you can use this method. Okay? So using this, you can derive shape function for 3-node, 6-node, 10-node element also. So you think about this. Okay? So once you have the shape function expressions, you can solve any problem. Whatever I just told you, irrespective of whatever triangular element you have, actual element, we are going to map onto this parent element. If it is a 3-node triangular element, we are going to map onto the parent element having nodes at these locations 1, 2, 3. Node 1 is at 0, 0, node 2 is at 1, 0, node 3 is at 0, 1. So now I want to know what are the shape functions expressions for this element, for this parent element in terms of S and T. You don't need to worry, you know the procedure. L1, L2, L3 you find. For 3-node triangular element, N1 is same as L1, N2 is same as L2, N3 is same as L3. So that is what is here. Using the 3 subscript numbering scheme, the shape functions for this triangle can easily be written. N1 is equal to L1, N2 is equal to L2, N3 is equal to L3. And if you want to write in terms of S and T, N1 is 1 minus S minus T. N2 is S, N3 is T. And rest of the things, once you get shape functions in terms of S and T, rest of the isoparametric mapping and other things are going to be same. So this is isoparametric mapping. And similar to what you did for quadrilateral elements, similar to what you did for rectangular elements or quadrilateral elements. You need to check the quality of the element, whether this element is, please note that whatever we studied, that is valid here. What did we study as a part of quadrilateral element? If I have a mid-side node, that mid-side node should not be closer to the end nodes of a particular side. And also, the angle between the edges should not be too acute or too obtuse. Okay? So those concepts are still applicable here. So if any of these are violated, then it's going to show up in your Jacobian and also when you plot xy as a function of S and T, similar to what you did for quadrilateral element. So for all that, you require this isoparametric mapping. So this is isoparametric mapping, x as function of S and T, y as function of S and T. And once you have this, you can derive what is Jacobian and other things. Okay? And here it is shown for 3-node triangular element. And if you want to do it for 6-node triangular element, the parent element is going to be like this. 6-node triangular element, the parent element is going to be like this. Irrespective of whatever triangular element you have, 6-node triangular element, we are going to map onto this parent element, where node 1 coincides with the 0, 0, node 2 is 1, 0, node 3 is 0, 1, and node 4, 5, 6 are going to be midpoint of these sites. So you can easily find what are the coordinates of this. So in this case, I need to find the shape function expressions in terms of S and T for the 6-node triangular element. So that is what is shown here. You can verify this. N1 to N6, they are given in terms of S and T. And once you have this, you can write the isoparametric mapping. So once you have the shape functions, the rest of the concepts that you learn for quadrilateral element, same thing you need to apply here depending on the number of nodes that you have for a particular element. Once you have this isoparametric mapping, you can derive all the other things. You take the derivatives. This expression is going to be same. Whatever you studied for quadrilateral elements, that is going to be say applicable here. Okay? And determinant of J. And you read this one. The determinant of J is called Jacobian. Since it appears in the denominator in the above equation, it must not be 0 anywhere over the domain. The mapping is not valid if determinant of J is 0 anywhere over the element. So given any element, you need to check whether this determinant is 0 anywhere, or you can also see, you can plot xy as function of S and T as we did for quadrilateral element, and see if there are any folds in the element in that particular figure. Okay, so you can go through all that. I will quickly go through that. Here an example is taken. 6-node triangular element, the coordinates are shown here. And if you want to find whether this quality of this element is good or not, or whether this mapping is going to be good or not, you write the isoparametric equations. You can go through the details, you can go through it, okay? Write the isoparametric equations. Find the Jacobian. And this Jacobian is going to be quadratic. Okay? This Jacobian is going to be quadratic. And sometimes plotting Jacobian actually may be a little bit cumbersome or inconvenient. In that case, you can plot x, y as function of s and t using parametric equation. Plotting parametric equation, x as a function of s and t, y as a function of s and t. And s goes here from where you need to be careful. S here goes from 0 to 1. T also goes from 0 to 1. Here the s is not going from -1 to 1. T is not going from -1 to 1. S is going from 0 to 1. T is going from 0 to 1. So these equations, s as a function of s and t, y as a function of s and t, you need to plot over the domain, s going from 0 to 1, t going from 0 to 1, and this is how the plot look like. You can try it in MATLAB or Mathematica. And you can see here, there are no folds anywhere. There are no folds anywhere, so the mapping is good. The mapping is valid for this placement of nodes. And to see the whatever we studied, whether it's correct or not, intentionally, these two nodes are moved closer to node 1. That is also illustrated here. Intentionally, node 4 and 6 are moved closer to node 1. Violating the condition. What is the condition? This middle node for each of the sides, 4, 5, 6, should not be too closer to node 1 or node 2 or other node, here node 3. So it should not be too closer to the end nodes. How much closeness is permitted? Quarter of length of that particular side. You cannot be closer than quarter of length of that particular side. I told you the analogy between that and the current the social distancing or physical distancing in the current pandemic time. Okay, so you need to maintain certain distance. You should not be too close. So in mathematics also, that is reflecting here in finite elements. If the nodes are too close, it's going to affect your solution. So if you are too close, these two nodes are intentionally made too close to see the effect. So then isoparametric mapping relations are written, and then you see how this plot looks like. It is looking like a hand fan. You see, when power is not there, we are going to use some kind of palm leaf made fan, that kind of thing. It is looking like that. Or it is looking like a broom. Up Arvind Kejriwal party broom, it is looking like that. Okay, so anyway, the thing is, I'm just giving some explanation here. And here, you can see here some fold is there. That shows that mapping is not valid. Okay, so whatever you studied, those are all applicable here, even for triangular element. And when we actually try to evaluate the integrals, we are going to adopt numerical integration. So we are not going to do integration over this element domain. We are going to do integration over this. How do we do integration over this? S going from 0 to 1, T going from 0 to 1. For this kind of triangular domain, you need to go back to your 12th class mathematics, or even I think it's going to be, if you are coming through JEE, or if it is not, then still it's going to be covered in 12th class mathematics, or if not in engineering mathematics, it will be there. The limits of integration for this kind of domain are going to be something like this: 0 to 1 minus t and 0 to 1. Here, the limits of integration for integrating over a triangle, right angle triangle, where s-axis goes from 0 to 1, t-axis goes from 0 to 1. If you want to integrate over that, the limits are going to be 0 to 1 minus t, 0 to 1. So please see whether this is convincing or not. Otherwise, I can give you additional explanation if it is not clear to you. Okay, you please check this one. And then over this kind of domain, while I was teaching the numerical integration, I told you for this kind of integrating over this triangular domain, depending on the number of points you choose, the coordinates and weights for those are readily given. So you can make use of those things and then do numerical integration over this. So irrespective of whatever triangular element we have, we are going to map onto this kind of regular element, parent element, which goes from 0 to, or s-axis goes from 0 to 1, t-axis goes from 0 to 1. Over this domain, we are going to do integration. Okay? So one example is given for here for numerical integration. So with all this, you should be able to substitute these finite element shape functions irrespective of whether you choose 3-node triangular element or 6-node triangular element. You choose the corresponding shape functions and then simplify all these quantities. And these integrals, instead of evaluating over a rectangular domain for quadrilateral element, now you can do it over a triangular domain. Okay, you can go through all this. It's all straightforward, and only difference is going to be integration over triangular domain instead of rectangular domain. Triangular domain integration you need to do, and then some examples are given here, similar to quadrilateral element, to assemble the matrices, one of the matrices like this one, that is illustrated here in this example. Evaluate matrix Kx using 3-point integration. Please note that for triangular element, it's not going to be 2 by 2 or 3 by 3, something like that. 3-point integration means you need to pick 3 points, corresponding integration points, corresponding weights. So this assembly of this K matrix, Kx, is illustrated here by taking 3 points. You go through it. So this is area integral. And what about line integral, these kind of things? Line integral, there is not much difference. Line integral depends on how many nodes are there on that particular side, on that particular edge. Line integration is going to be similar to that of quadrilateral element. So that line integration example is also given here. You can go through that. Line integration is for a quadrilateral element, you are going to integrate along each of the 4 edges. For triangular element, you need to integrate along each of the 3 edges. And whatever you studied earlier, the shape function of any node which is not part of a particular edge, it's going to be 0 along that edge. all those concepts. Using all those concepts, here it is illustrated how to do integration over each of the edges, and also numerically it is also illustrated here. You can go through this example. Okay. So what I suggest is you go through these examples. If you have any questions related to this, we can discuss in the next class. Otherwise, if there are no questions in here, if everything is clear, then we can proceed further. Okay. In your 7th assignment, I may give some questions related to this, these things. You can attempt those things so that your understanding is going to be better. Okay. So with that, let me take attendance. Any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, let's meet next week. Okay, thank you.